Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday or whatever day you're watching this. We have a slightly different stream, at least start for you all, where we have friend of the channel, Scribnibble here, and we're just going to do a fun little interview where I'm going to kind of ask him some questions about his experience at the AGE Open in New England, where, spoilers, he finished second with Vincent, and it was just like amazing gameplay. So I wanted to invite him on the channel, and I'm just going to try to get a couple things set up here. And so I'm going to have him come off mute and make sure the audio is all good. And then we're just going to dive into things, folks. And then we'll eventually play some games. I'm actually going to have him type it through me, and I want to see what he would do that I wouldn't do. So it'll be a learning experience for all. Um, all right, Scrib, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome, awesome. I'm going to make sure that your audio is coming through. So I'm going to try to pull up a version of the stream and see if it catches through, and then we can get started. Also, if you have happen to confirm that your voice is coming through, that would be awesome too. But I think I can just check really quick.
Yeah,
So,
testing, testing. All good on my end. I can hear you loud and clear.
awesome. Okay, cool. I think it's coming through. Um, and then if not, I guess if someone hops in chat, they'll be like, "Yo, we can't hear you," but I'm pretty sure it looks like I just checked. Your audio's coming in. I'm gonna switch the game scene over here to show off your version of the cultist list that you took to the AG Open. And I personally haven't, I've gone to a few kind of like callings and some of these kind of higher tier events and some PQs, local armory. But I wanted to know, like, I've never been on a streaming table. So, like, going into this, like, I guess, what were your expectations? Because I know you popped into the Discord and you're like, hey, I'm going to the AG Open. And I want to know, like, what was your headspace at? Like, were you like, oh, I'm just going to go for fun? Were you like expecting to do as well as you did? Like, well, yeah, where was your head at?
Yeah, so I, like you mentioned, I've also never been on stream before. I haven't really gone to any big events before. Although like AGE or like a ProQuest, which I have done pretty well at before, is not quite as big as a calling. Still haven't gotten to go to a calling yet. Um, so it's all pretty new for me, but I definitely felt confident going into the AGE. There were about 40 people there, I think 39. I was driven up by a couple of uh, new locals. I just moved up here
Right.
to the New England area, and some of my new locals uh, offered to carpool me up to the tournament, and we had a real grand old time driving up there, talking all sorts of cards, and just a really jovial kind of good times atmosphere going up there. Felt really good. Um, yeah, and like I said, I had gone to a ProQuest
Yeah.
before that
Yeah.
was about the same size. I think it was like 36 players instead of 39, and
Yeah.
I got second place at the ProQuest on almost the same Vincent deck. So I did think like, oh, I could do pretty well today.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you did, and I was gonna say like, okay, second place. This seems to be a trend. We got to break that and get you to first place sooner or
I
later.
I know, I know. And the funny thing is at the ProQuest, I had really excellent games in the top 8 against an Aurora and then against a Prism. Just really hard fought games that I won, and I felt like I played extremely well. And then I got to the finals, and it was against a new, and that just was a non-game. She just ran me over. She banished like 6 blood debt cards with 2 bonds of agonies that she got me with, and yeah, and I just died to blood debt. And it felt like deja vu, fighting
Oh my
against the
God.
Cindra in the finals. Where it was
Oh,
like, okay, I'm just getting non-hand after non-hand, and I'm just dying.
that happens. I mean, and speaking of, I guess, Syndra, I want to know kind of like what matchups were you expecting to like go into here? I have been kind of like my pulse on the Metachick has been what I've seen kind of on video content and all the callings and sorry, nats that have been going on. But like, did you have an idea of like what you were gonna get up against? I know you were thinking like Cinder's gonna be there, but like, yeah, like what was I guess your expectation, and then how was your like reality compared to that?
Yeah, no surprise to anyone who hasn't been living under a flesh and blood rock. Gravy is extremely popular right now. I definitely expected a bunch of people playing Gravy with varying levels of experience on the hero. I also expected quite a few Syndras. The rock paper scissors that people have been talking about recently in sort of flesh and blood social media of Gravy, Syndra, Verdance.
Yeah,
That's what I expected to be there. I was a little bit fearful of the Gravy Bones matchup up until like the night before the tournament,
yeah,
because I just kept thinking like this matchup is doomed. I'm playing a Reaping Blade to like fight through his 3 health allies. So you have to run Tunic, but you're using the Tunic counter to pay for the Reaping Blade, and you don't get to lose the life because you don't have Flail. And
right.
I just felt so doomed into it. And then I watched I don't know if you know the Iron Maiden,
Yeah,
Abigail, who does Vincent content also. She proposed using invert existence
I
against
think that's
Gravy, and I brought
genius. Okay,
I
cool. Go
brought
ahead.
in 2 invert existences, and I think that has solved the matchup for Vincent.
I think that's so smart, and like props to Iron Maiden or Abigail or whatever they prefer to go by on like coming out with that, because like you brought that up I think in the Discord, and it was like a oh duh moment for me. I was like, oh, like why didn't I have this on my list? And like I'm curious like how that card, it seems like it overperformed, like it did everything because like it's like a one cost instance feed, goodbye to allies essentially. Is it like that's how I see it on
Yeah.
paper? Is that like how it met, like played out?
Um. Yes. I played against my matchups for the day were Gravy,
Hmm.
Jarl, Gravy,
My
Cindra,
God.
Cindra.
Okay.
And then into the top 8, it was Dory, Slippy, Cindra, right? So lots of Cindras, lots of Gravies, just as I expected.
Yeah.
Um, Thankfully dodged Verdance, but so I fought 2 Gravies on the day, and I think both matches into Gravy, I won them handily. Um, I do think that you really do have to play very smart into Gravy,
Yep.
but I think that the combination of Invert Existence, Mauvrian Skies, and Arcane Cussing
Yep.
help tremendously. A specific instance where Invert Existence was very, very good. I played against a well-known New England player who was awesome to play against. It was great to get to meet him in person. I've seen him on YouTube and like on coverage before.
Yeah.
I got to play against him. He was on Gravy, and he elected to go first. He won the die roll, and he used the Gravy Bones hero ability to put a chum into the yard, and then he used a chart the high seas to put a limpet into the graveyard.
Uh-huh.
And then he played a give no quarter to discount the chum, and I banished both the chum and the limpet in
Oh,
response.
damn. Wait, this wasn't on stream, was it? Because I think I would have loved to
No,
have seen.
this was in round 3, and or no, round 4. Um, so I got 2 allies on turn 0. So it was free, right?
Yeah.
Just pitched a card manually, and then the game progressed, and I let my Tunic go up to 3 counters, and he I had a widespread destruction, the arsenal banisher, and I attacked him, and he was really trying to protect his arsenal, and he completely blocked it out and left a resource floating in case I was going to do another rune chant.
Right.
And I used the Tunic counter to invert existence a Sawbones and a Murderous Rabble to deal 2 arcane damage
Oh.
over his AB1, and managed to get his arsenal, which was a Conqueror of the High Seas.
Dang, that okay, the dopamine spike, I feel like you must have felt from that. Like I would have lost it. I would have probably not been very stoic, and I thought you were pretty stoic on stream, and energetic. But okay, I'm sold just from those two stories. I had pulled in one after watching your matches on Invert, and I'm definitely gonna go up to two. So like props to you and props to the Iron Maiden YouTube channel. I'll probably have to link their
Yeah,
content, that link their channel in the description after this. But that's awesome. I've seen a few of their puzzles, but damn. Okay, so the matchups, the gravy one scared you, and or initially, but it seemed, or you weren't sure of it. I don't want to say scared.
yeah. Oh no, you can say scared. I was scared.
But it sounds like, yeah, like you kind of brought in the tech cards, you made the reps, and it worked out. Um, and then I guess across the board, kind of to round out the whole matchup talk, was there anything that just felt like, oh God, no? I know you said you mentioned you dodged the Verdants. And
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
was there anything, I guess, during the tournament that was like, oh, this is way harder than I thought? Or I guess, and if nothing was like way harder than you thought, I guess like, has Verdance been that scary?
Yeah. So, one last point about
Yeah.
gravy, because I think that there has been a lot of debate about whether to bring Reaping Blade or Flail of
Mm,
Agony into
yeah.
Gravy Bones. I think that Flail of Agony is good into Gravy Bones, regardless of whether he brings the one health allies or not. I
Okay.
think that if he brings the Rigor Mortis and Limpet into the matchup against Vincent, I think you love that, right? The
Right.
flail just gets to clear up an ally
Yep.
basically for free and you profit off of it. But even just swinging the flail at the end of a turn into an ally that it doesn't kill, like an
Yeah.
Anka or like a Swabby or something,
Yeah.
you still get the rune chant on the back and you lose the
Yep.
life, so you get
The
all of the
activation.
benefits that Vincent loves.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that flail is just the only weapon that you should run.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that is its use case in the Gravy Bones matchup.
Yeah.
So
No,
then,
I get that. I get that. Please continue. Sorry.
and then moving on to like what matchups I thought were really hard. I was shocked that out of 2 out of 3 matchups I had into Cindra, I lost.
Mm,
um, I think a lot of Vincent players, and I think a lot of Syndra players, everyone believes that Vincent into Syndra is extremely favored.
yeah.
Um, but I noticed one problem with the version of the deck that I brought, and that
Hmm.
is that it doesn't have enough RuneGate attacks.
I see.
Um, I'm only running. I was only running 24, um, and I think that that is not enough for Syndra, because the plan into Syndra is to block with much of your hand and then send a single RuneGate
Yeah.
attack every turn. But if you draw multiple hands in the game that don't have any RuneGate attacks at all, then your plan just falls apart. So like I think that you need to increase the number of RuneGate attacks that you bring into Syndra or Dio, right, into your aggressive opponents, just to mitigate the risk of bricking. But obviously, there's only so much space in the inventory, right? So like, what do you
Yeah.
cut?
Yeah. No, I know. I was doing a quick check on actually your variation of the cultist list and mine, and I'm seeing like the mix of like 2 to 3 cards, and I'm like, okay. Um, yeah, the Syndrome matchup, I I don't want to talk too much about it on my end because I want to hear more of your experience, but like, yeah, I think you brought in like Dyadic, I think you brought in Oval, and
Mm,
my current thought process, and I don't know how much this changes, I actually still bring Tunic in. And Dyadic, I don't
mhm,
even know how much I'll be using Dyadic, but that is a conversation we can have offline another time. Because I'm very interested in just kind of hearing um kind of more from your tales. But so
mm.
Syndra, little surprising there. Is there anything, I guess, while we're on Syndra, like more the two extra Deathly Delights I think you have that you're going to bring in. Is there anything else that you notice? Like, is it still like, hey, let's mostly block out, you think, and then send the one?
Yeah, so if anyone watching this has not already seen it and they go back to watch the games that I played on stream at the AGE Open, I talked in the interview on that day
Hmm.
about like how strong the aura package is. And the aura package, for anyone who's unfamiliar with the cultist version of the list, is 2 copies of Arcane Cussing, 2 copies of Blessing of Occult, and 3 copies of Sonata Galaxia. That is an extremely powerful offensive package, but all of it blocks too.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
into Cindra on last Saturday, I was really racking my brain for like, okay, how do I increase, like,
Yeah.
just bring in literally every card from the sideboard that has block 3. um, and since then, I've kind of refined my thoughts about how to sideboard into Syndra, and that like if you're going to start, if you're going to bring in as many of the block 3s as possible, and you're going to take, and you're not running Tunic, so you have access, you have less access to the resource that Tunic provides, then you have a difficulty in like hard casting the Arcane Cussing or the Blessing of Occult. And you can even see this in the game that I played on stream where I like got a Cussing stuck in my arsenal.
Yep.
um and I had to like wait around and pitch another card to play it, and it was just really awkward and a terrible value for me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that into Syndra or into Dio, you take out the Aura package and you bring in Mavrian Sky's Shadow Puppetry, just like all of the free actions that, maybe Syndra doesn't want to block, and she gives you 3 free rune chants from the Mavrian Skies. You know,
Yeah.
not likely to happen, but it's better than having an Arcane Cussing that you have to hard cast, right?
Yeah.
So I think that into Syndra, you take out the aura package, you put in all of your go agains just because there's nothing better to do, and yeah, you just try to defend yourself and beat them down.
Yeah, no, I actually think that's a great call. I think I'll probably adjust my strategy because I still bring in the aura package, because it's main board for me. But I think I'll try to seek out. Maybe we'll seek out a Syndra matchup later, and we can kind of pilot
I
that
have been
together.
trying to find. I have been trying to find um Syndra's on Talishar. I have not been able to find them.
Really, I think tonight we'll get lucky, but I also really quick I wanted to say hi to chat. Bios update is saying like, hey, as a mech main, I really appreciate you and Nick breaking down the cultist list. So Nick, thank you so much for just hopping on, having this chat, from myself and Bios update and Lazeus. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna butcher that name. Lazeus, thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate everyone who's just like hanging out and listening. And if you have any questions for Nick, please throw them in the chat and I can try to, incorporate them. Um, Back to you, Nick. I'm sorry for that intermission there, but you said something that I actually, yeah. So I love what you're saying about maybe taking the Aura package out in like super fast, Syndra-esque equivalent matchups. Um, my one thing is quick follow up on that because this is where my head went first. It's like, do you think there's merit in bringing at least some of the package if you win the die roll to go first?
That is Uh, yes, is the short answer.
Mm.
I would want to test that. I,
Yeah.
I in my personal sort of habit, I don't usually change my
Mhm.
sideboarding based on going first or second. But I had a good friend uh, back in the area I was before I moved up here to New England, who he really prioritized determining who went first and who went second before he made his
Yeah.
sideboarding decisions, because it determined whether or not he brought in his tall spell package in Acilio or his go wide combo package in Acilio. And maybe I take a page out of his book and
Mhm.
start determining turn order before I make my sideboarding decisions.
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely merit to considering that.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm guilty of this as well. Of like occasionally I'm like, ooh, I'm going first. Maybe I bring Evan, or ooh, I'm going first. Maybe I'll change. But I think what you've told me about the Syndra matchup is definitely making me also kind of revisit that. Um, Kind of struggling along here. We've done a little bit of talking about um, invert existence and kind of how that card performed for you. And I'm actually curious, and I think you've hinted at this a little bit. Oh, the stream might be echoing. We're getting a little bit of an echo. I will try to adjust some volume, Lysias, but while I do that, question for you, Nick. Are there cards that you thought were like underperforming or overperforming in the list?
Yeah, so we already mentioned a little bit about Bloodied Oval, and you said that
Yeah.
you had taken it out of your cultist list, and I put it back in for the AGE. I have since taken it back out. I think that this is just a card that's like just on the border of being playable, as 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 crummy as a one block offhand is. um uh I don't know. I noticed that in Bloodied Oval is
Hmm.
a defensive tech piece. You use the Bloodied Oval to combat your aggressive opponents. If you are succeeding in doing that, your Rune Gate attacks are absolutely annihilating them every turn and blasting them for for a bunch of damage. Um, and your life is gonna be higher than theirs,
Yep.
like for a lot of the game, because you're blocking so heavily and you're hitting them back so hard. And so sometimes you don't need the Bloodied Oval at all. And if you're on the back foot, I'm not sure that the Bloodied Oval is actually that useful, because like,
Yeah.
okay, it blocks one block breakpoint, but then they just flick knives over it, and like I don't know. It didn't feel good enough to save me in the games where things are going badly, and it felt useless in the other games. So I don't know.
Okay.
I think Bloody Oval was an underperformer for sure.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. And all that makes sense. And real quick before you continue on your any train of thought on underperformers and overperformers of cards, we got TGAC saying, I am late, but hello, Nick. I miss you. So pretty much
Hello.
it's everyone in chat is pretty much maybe the East Coast or New England crew who misses you. So you got a lot of fans. Um,
Yeah, probably one of the feisty locals, all of whom I miss. Although I don't recognize T-Gac's screen name. Um, but message me on Discord, say hi. I miss all of the feisty locals down in the DMV too. It's tough being away from such a great scene.
uh, um, cool. Any other underperformers?
Yeah. Reaping Blade, I think
Yes.
is really contentious, and I think that it has a unique effect that could be very disruptive against a matchup that I think is difficult for us. So I think it's worth considering, kind of always. Um, I think that it's not good enough into Verdance specifically. In the meta where Count Your Blessings was a thing, I think that Reaping Blade had a lot more merit because there's just so much more. There are so many more matchups that depended on that life gain negation. Um, but the Verdance play pattern is really not hampered that badly by Reaping Blade, and Vincent's game plan is hampered tremendously by having a
Yeah.
one cost weapon that doesn't damage her. Um, so because think about the games against Verdance where you bring in Reaping Blade, and the like traditional sort of technique and like play style that people advise is that you're supposed to walk your life total down with Verdance, like sort of go down
Yeah.
step for step on life total with her, always keeping your life total below hers,
Yeah.
to like make use of the Reaping Blade and like keep her off, life gain. But so like let's say you do that and you get
Mhm.
all the way down to 12 life and she's at 13, and then you go down to 9 life and she's at 11. Okay, great. How do you kill her How do you kill her without getting her below your life? And you're now at 9 life, which is Vincent or which is Verdant's kill
Yep.
range. So like you really put yourself in a lot of danger with an awkward weapon. Um and don't actually hamper Verdant's ability to kill you. So I think that Reaping Blade is just not good into Verdant's specifically.
Yeah. No, makes sense. So right now we kind of like I know you have a current iteration of this list that we'll kind of share with the people after we walk through kind of what you took to open AGE. But yeah, Reaping Blade,
Mhm.
Bloodied
Yeah.
Oval, these are things that yeah, like I've kind of cut for my version, and it's nice to kind of hear like the validation of like you took these, didn't feel good. I did have Reaping Blade more often back in Battle Hardened when I went to Portland. And
Mhm.
it came in clutch for one little new matchup, funny enough. But yeah, I haven't been impressed with it myself, so I'm kind
Oh,
of yeah.
absolutely. I think that the Count Your Blessings ban
Yeah.
materially changed the meta, and
Yep.
you needed Reaping Blade into Count Your Blessings matchup before, and now you don't need it
Yeah.
anymore.
I know. It frees up a
Um,
couple extra pieces for the list, so love that.
I also one underperformer that I didn't play at the AGE, but I didn't play it because it was an underperformer. Was Time Snap Potion.
Ah.
You and I both had Time Snap Potion
Yep.
in previous versions of
Yep.
this list, and it was good previously, I think.
Yeah.
Um, Now I think it's just too slow. Um, like the only matchup I would run it into would be like I don't know, maybe Jarl now,
Yeah.
but like even Jarl is not so slow. Like Jarl, if you take a turn to set up, will sometimes just hit you.
Yeah.
Like
You're just gonna
you
get
can't
knocked out. Yeah.
purely you can't purely set up against Jarl. He's not that slow.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I same thoughts on this. I think, just to add a little bit of commentary, Time Snap I mostly had because I lean heavily on Oblivion in this list. And I think though with the changes because of Gravy, because now we have Mauve Sky, Shadow Puppetry, Tear, so Temptation, Machinations, we have enough go again enablers that allows us to drop Time Snap. So I'm definitely I'm aligned with you on that.
oh yeah,
Um,
big. I was gonna say big overperformer Oblivion, but actually maybe just expected performer. Oblivion was expected to be good in the
yeah.
matchups that it's good into, and it was good into those matchups. So Oblivion
So
did its job.
question for you on this a little bit. I only saw I saw some of the Dory matchup. I saw the oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Slippy one and then the Cindra one.
Mhm.
And I may have missed
Yes.
parts of it. Did you resolve Oblivion in any of those? Or I don't think yeah, I think they were too
In
quick for Cindra and Slippy, but just curious.
Yeah, in the finals or in the top cut, I did not resolve Oblivion into any of them. I did bring it in against Dorinthia,
Mhm.
because Dorinthia is a very threatening matchup. I think
Yeah.
she is fully capable of running you out of threats, and like I think that watching the game back and talking with Colby on the car ride back, I think that um that was sort of the game plan. Just like try to get good value out of the Valiant Dynamos and try to
Yeah.
get good value out of the hatchets and fatigue Vincent. And I think that if Vincent stumbles, Dorinthia is fully capable of executing that game plan, and you
Yeah.
can definitely lose. So Oblivion really helps sort of mitigate that risk. That like, okay, you can summon Nazareth. It's difficult for Dorinthia to clear. So I did bring it in. I did not get to resolve Nazareth, but you
Mhm.
definitely bring it into Dorinthia.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And part of the reason I think part of like I guess the ideation that led to me kind of brewing the list was I would get my locals at the time. This is, I think, back when I was on Redline, blocked everything. I'd get fatigued all the time. and I was like, I hate this.
Hmm.
So I was like, I need to just make rune chants. Like I just need to make rune chants. That was like the like initial thought that I was like, I'm over this. I remember I got fatigued by like an IRA, and I was like, I'm getting off of this red line list. I'm going to like brew something new. And so I just looked at how to make as many rune chants as possible. So, and that's kind of like helps us with fatigue, but I mean, they're pitching away for our rune chant, so it's kind of like maybe just slowing down the fatigue. But
Dude,
that's just an aside.
this version of the deck is very good at making huge piles of rune chants. It
Yeah,
feels awesome.
yeah, I love it. I love it. Cool. And so we have mid performers, any over performers, anything that you're like, oh, like on paper, this card seems like it would be okay, but when you played it, you're like, this was the glue, or this felt amazing.
Um, yeah, so many of the cards felt like overperformers. Let's start with the aura package, I think. Uh, Sonata Galaxia is awesome.
Yeah,
It is so good. Um, and having two copies of each Arcane Cussing and Blessing of the Cult lets you get the right rune chant generator for the problem you're trying to
yeah,
solve on the board. Like if you need a big wide chain where you get to double rune gate, you go and you grab your cussing. If you
yep,
need to set up on the back of a chain where you already have rune chains, or like you've expended all of your rune chants, you go and you get the blessing of the occult. Um, I think sometimes you end up with like an eloquence token on the board, and so you don't need four rune chants to send Sonata Galaxia for X equals 2. You can just send X equals 1 and get the go again off the eloquence
yep,
token. That's very good. Um, Arcane Cussing is best friends with Shadow Puppetry. it is it is unbelievably good with Shadow Puppetry because
yeah,
you pay the life for Shadow Puppetry. You you guarantee that you pop the arcane cussing, and so the shadow puppetry synergizes with the arcane cussing because it guarantees that the cussing pops, and the
yep,
arcane cussing supports the shadow puppetry because it gives you something to do with the action point. It lets you rune gate a second rune gate.
yep,
um and so like you can do some very cool lines where you have an arcane cussing out on the board, and you do shadow puppetry, and you only have a widespread ruin in the banish zone. And so widespread ruin has the shadow puppetry on hit
yeah,
attached to it, and so you can hit your opponent, see if it's a rune gate card on top.
yep,
If it is, then maybe you just you don't banish it from shadow puppetry and just close the chain and let the widespread ruin banish it. But if it's not a rune gate card, sometimes you can use the shadow puppetry banish to get it out of the way, and
yeah,
then you hit a second card with the widespread ruin trigger. So like kind of doing what mechanologist sometimes, what like Dash IO sometimes does, where she like digs deep in her deck for like an item.
yeah. I saw you do
Um,
that on stream, and I was like, when you were looking at it, I was like, I think he's gonna banish the top card to get dig deeper, and I think you did, and it landed you a hit.
it was a
Uh,
it was a Phantom Banshee, which
yeah,
Phantom Banshee happens to cost 3, and that's exactly how much arcane cussing makes.
yeah, yeah. I love it.
Yeah,
I know. I
it's
have
really
been.
really good.
It's so vindicating to be like, yo, cussing is good. Because like I remember I was like looking at this card and I was like, I really like it and it works with us really well because it's just deal damage. And so it's just nice to see you take it out into the field and like do well with it. Um, we got a couple questions in the chat, which I will get to you. BIOS update and TGAC. I just want to let you finish kind of your thoughts on what you were doing there, Nick, and then I can kind of maybe take some viewer questions maybe now, or I might do it after we get through. But I'll see how fast they come in, and if it looks like they're gonna escape us in chat, maybe we'll do them now. If not, I might come back to you all in chat at the end.
Yeah, maybe we can just one One more
Sure.
overperformer here, and then I'd love to talk about the some of the questions.
Yeah.
Uh, Bantam Banshee is was definitely an overperformer. It is a lot better than Bantam Wraith.
Yeah.
um, it is a lot better than Bantam Wraith. It's kind of funny how much better it is. I One of my previous locals, one of the feisty locals, played Vincent, and I at that time I had never really seen Bantam Banshee in Vincent lists, and I
Yeah.
asked him, "Oh, hey Thomas, okay, 2DOT is Thomas. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yes, a fellow Runeblade player. Um, yeah. So Phantom Banshee is a 7 attack, and I asked this guy. I was like, we finished up our game, and I was like, why do you play Phantom Banshee? It seems so expensive. And he told me something that has really stuck with me. And he said, "Big Numby good."
Yeah.
I said,
That's it.
"Shit. Okay, it's just bigger."
Yeah.
Um, I think that having 7 attack on a rune gate attack is really good because it demands another card or armor, and you can sometimes, they try very hard. Your opponent will try very hard to completely block out your entire turn, and then you send Banshee that has 7 power and it pokes them for 1 damage after they've tried their entire turn
Yep.
to stop you from doing that, and it hits them for 1, and now you get all of your on hurt triggers,
Yep.
right? You get the second rune chant, you get the eloquence token, you get to banish their arsenal. All of a sudden it turns all of that on, and I think that Phantom Banshee is extremely good.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, yeah. +1. Nothing but agree to that. Um, cool. Let's dive into chat a little bit and see. I think Bio's update is saying, do the changes in this list introduce new weaknesses from previously stock versions of Vinset? I think I'll let you answer that first, and then I might add my 2 cents from running this. But I
Yeah,
think,
I was about to say I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too.
yeah,
I do think that we do have some weaknesses.
yep,
I have gone on and on, and you have gone on and on about how great the aura package is, how awesome it is to play arcane cussing, and when they work, they are awesome. Um, I think that they are not free though.
yes, yeah,
They definitely have a cost associated with them. They only
yeah,
block 2.
yeah,
Your Deadwood Dirges, your Envelop in Darknesses, your Malefics, your Sonatas, Blessings, Arcane Cussings, all of them block 2. Mauve Skies blocks 2. Shadow Puppetry blocks 2. So many things. Oblivion blocks 0, right? So
mhm,
it's your deck does not block super well.
yeah,
Um, and so like decks that are running more like Runic Reckonings, running the Deathly Delights, running Mordred Tide, even the decks that are running like Requiem for the Damned, they all block a little bit better.
yeah,
Um, and I think that that is definitely a risk that this version of the deck runs. It doesn't block as well. Um, yeah, and to be
mhm,
fair to
mhm,
the aura package detractors, it can be pretty awkward to get one of the auras stuck in your hand.
yep,
Um, yeah, so I do think that there are some weaknesses, some drawbacks, but I think there are enough opponents' decks running around out there that demand that you stack up a huge rune chant and send a double wide 7 rune chant turn to kill them. I think that there are enough of those decks that you benefit more for the risk.
yeah, yeah. Um, and I'll add a little of my 2 cents. I think I very much agree with like, yes, you are gonna have a lot more two blocks in here. And I kind of have thought about that and I justify that a little bit where I, I don't have hard numbers for this, but I would perceive and I feel like I do get Oblivion out more. So Nazareth gets out more, and that's kind of like all of the -1 armor value that you get from all these two blocks. I add, that back in the 6 health that I get back from Nazareth. But like that's,
True.
I'm detracting from the weakness by bringing up like, hey, it's a weakness, but kind of to be like pretty explicit on weaknesses, I do think this is also like It's weird because I was talking about this a little before. Like, it is kind of also a very fatigue heavy list for people who have the blues if we don't create the chance. Because, like, they're pitching away the rune chants, and those pitch cards are going back into the deck. And once you run out of your rune chant generators, we're back to being fatigable very easily. So, like, fatigue, but I think to answer Bio's updates question of like, that is a weakness of all Vinset lists, in my opinion. I think fatigue is actually like the biggest scary thing for us. Um,
Definitely, fully 100% agree.
yeah, and I'm trying to think if there's any like I don't know. I'm biased, right? I this to me, this version of the list is I think one of the stronger versions of Vinset. I would say one thing I did notice a weakness of this list, which I also think is a pro. Like, I'm not doing a good job answering this because I'm biased because it's like my birth child or my wow, that sounds weird. My deck list eventually, but like I built it in a
Yeah,
way that would handle these weaknesses. Like we rely less on creepers, which means we don't get to go like as wide, but also we don't need creepers as much. And another weakness is like there are less shadow non-attack actions, at least in my version. I think you might have, no, I think we have about the same number. And so the self damage is also a weakness. So two kind of explicit weaknesses
yeah,
from my point of view are less reliance or less use of creepers and then less shadow attack. Because I don't have besiege and we don't have besiege either. So we don't have besiege because I'm trying to like
no,
do less on those two blocks. So hopefully that answers your question, BIOS.
yeah. I also think that like to the beseech versus envelop in darkness conversation, which is a
Yeah,
decision that I think a lot of Vincent players go through when they're building their deck.
yeah,
Um, uh, this version of the deck does use the tunic resource a lot less frequently to
hmm
use spellbound creepers
yeah,
because there's so many other wonderful things that you can do with one resource. um,
yeah,
envelop in darkness feels awesome. It is
yeah,
so good.
yeah.
Um, you can
Yes.
hard cast a cussing
Yep.
off of the tunic resource. You can cast envelop in darkness. It is very common for you to end the turn with one rune chant from a malefic, and so then you banish a card at the start of the turn from Vincent's ability, and then envelop in darkness gives you the third rune chant that you need to cast your deathly delights or your deathly wails and your widespread destruction and your Phantom Banshee.
Yeah.
You have a lot of three cost rune gate attacks in this deck, and Envelop in Darkness turns them on very reliably.
Yeah.
And it gives +3 power on them, and it makes removal unpreventable, and it lets you damage yourself for your own triggers.
Yeah.
Envelop in Darkness is awesome.
Love that. We have another question for you. I'll try not to always add commentary here because like you were just there. So we have it's the 222 T Thomas was asking for Oblivion against Dorinthia. Do you worry you are enabling her on hits? Um, go for it.
Short answer, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, so I do think like I said with Arcane Cussing and the Aura package, it's not free.
yeah,
Nazareth can you do run the risk that Dorinthia can get a counter off of a counter for free uh off of Nazareth. But like if you're gaining 6 life minimum from her and you get an entire turn to set up almost for free, I don't know, I'm willing to take that trade-off often. Plus, I think that you can be conscious of like if you're fighting against a Dawnblade Dorinthia, you just don't summon Nazareth until maybe second cycle.
yeah,
Um or like you don't want to summon Nazareth too early. I think that that is true.
yeah,
You don't want to just do it right at the beginning where you're not going to have gas. But like if you summon Nazareth in like the mid to the late game,
yeah.
and Nazareth helps you close the game out, I think that you don't care about the sword counter anymore. um,
Oh, plus
so
one.
it's not free. You have to be careful about it, but it is. I think it's strong enough that it warrants the risk.
Yeah, I will say though, I disagree with one part. You could summon Nazareth early if you're running the blue ribbon of the blue beyond. I'm kidding.
Oh, true. That's such a
Yeah.
good point.
when you I will
I
say,
want.
go ahead, go ahead. You finish your thing. Go. I
You
cut you off.
you were about to tell the same
Okay.
story. I was about to
I
go
was
for
gonna say,
it.
all I'm saying is, dude, when you mentioned to the caster, who those casters are amazing, when you're like, yeah, Fabton cooks a little hard. He has Bandana of the Blue Beyond, and like his face, the caster, I like scrambled. I like closed the tab. I opened up Fabric. Went to both of my lists public. I was like, drop Blue Beyond, drop it quickly. I was like mortified, and I showed Kate, my partner, and she doesn't know Fab, but his reaction was so like visceral. She's like, "What did you do? Like, what did you do?" So like, I
Hey,
was like,
I think it's potentially very good. I think if if old him comes back,
"Yeah,
he's
sure,
now like an older brother. I think
yeah,
Bandana is, or if like Guardian Pack Mastery, like if a bunch
yeah,
of Guardians come out of the woodwork and like now everything's Guardian heavy. I think it
yeah."
we could run it, right? But it was funny.
No, it was
I
so
like it. I
funny.
want to try it.
It was no, I honestly thought it was hilarious, and I loved the reaction from both y'all, and I was like, it's a joke, but like I know I just kind of like to get like I sometimes will position myself to get digged on, or whatever it's called, and so
Yeah.
I thought that was just funny. So I really appreciate like I just loved like your entire reaction, how you delivered that. I was like, oh no, oh no,
um Also, in the chat I noticed that Brad was talking about Banshee being a
yeah,
7 power popper.
yeah,
Um Dude, I played a Prism on at the Armory last night. It's on Tuesday in the new local scene. And I played a Prism, and the game ended with me still at 27 health, and I just eviscerated the Prism player. I think the fact that Phantom Banshee is a 7 power popper makes the already
yeah,
very favored matchup even better. I think that you are not scared of Prism at all. I think
yeah,
you're thrilled, you're elated to fight a Prism.
yeah, yeah. I think +1. I had a Prism in my PQ in the top eight, and I matched against them, and or no, I did match against them in the top eight, but they were a great player, and I was like, this is a free win, almost. Like it's you can't just AFK, but like
Of
it's
course.
lovely, and Banshee makes it so easy. I think also. I forget pockets. You know their real name. You just said it. I forgot. They also had a question for if Banshee is overperforming Wraith, and the mana is overperforming Wraith, and the mana is more available. Is there a consideration of swapping Wraiths in for Banshee yellow?
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah, I I think no, because how do I even explain this? I think no, because the benefit of Phantom Banshee Red is that it has 7 health, or it has 7 power, which
Hmm.
is useful for all of the reasons talked about before. It's just this really nice breakpoint. Um, though I said that Phantom Wraith is far worse, it does have one advantage over Phantom Banshee, and that is that it costs 2.
Yeah.
Uh, and Deathly Whale, for example, Deathly Whale is one of the glue pieces of the list. When you asked earlier about what cards are overperformers, what cards are underperformers, I think that every Vincent player just assumes that Deathly Whale is in the deck in red and yellow, to the point that like it doesn't even warrant mentioning. But Deathly Whale is the glue that holds this deck
Yeah.
together. Um,
So I have something on that, but I'll let you. I don't know if you're done with your thought, so I want to add one thing once you're done.
just the last part of the Deathly Whale thing is that
Hmm.
Deathly Whale, if you have triggered the life loss on yourself, creates 2 rune chants on the back end, and so it is really advantageous to have some 2 cost rune gates sitting in your banish zone, so that you send them after your Deathly Whale. That creates, you go from, okay, here's 9, go again, right? Or sorry, 10, go again, because you've got the 3 rune gates plus the shadow puppetry 1 power plus the deathly whale 6 power. So here's 10. Instead of sending the flail, which is only 1 more damage, here's an extra 8.
Yeah.
Surprise. I think that is really, really powerful.
Yeah,
What were you gonna say about the
definitely
Decklet?
will. So 100% agree with everything. And I have an answer for this in my head, and I want to see if you and I align because I think you have some really good perspectives that I don't think of. And I noticed some of your like decisions that you were making on the stream
Mm,
at the tournament. I was like, oh, cool. But you made a choice after the fact. And I may be jumping ahead here of like you're bringing in, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, two Deathly Delights is kind of like you want a couple more Rune Gate attacks. Um, Deathly Delight costs two, can heal you.
hmm
Um,
hmm
and I'm wondering those two spots for the two Deathly Delights, I think it was two. Do you how would you weigh that, or would you even consider having those two spots go to blue Deathly Whales? Because and I think they do different
Yeah,
things, but I want to
I
know what you're
would
thinking there.
I would consider it. Um, so the reason I picked so right now we're talking about something that is not in the June
Yeah,
version of the list. This is something
correct.
that I've been thinking about into the July list that I'm going to run in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Um, the reason I picked Deathly Delight Red specifically is because it costs two and it gains you the life on the back if you trigger it, right? If you get life loss.
yep,
And that is important to shore up the weakness into the Cindra matchup
yeah,
for two reasons. First, it requires less setup. You don't need to have three rune gates, you need to have two,
yep,
which doesn't require anything but a malefic incantation, right? You could just play a malefic, you send Deathly Delight. Or if you really get stuck, you can block with your entire hand and have a Deathly Delight already in your banish zone and block with all four of your cards and use your gloves
yep,
to send Deathly Delight.
yeah,
And it gains you the life on the back, which makes Syndra's job 1 point harder.
yep,
Uh, and so I think for that reason, like adding the blue Deathly Whales lets you be more resilient into your Jarl matchup, into your Gravy matchup. It's more rune chant generation, which is good. I like that.
hmm
It also it's a blue, so you can actually just pitch it to hard cast some of your 3 cost rune gates, which is not nothing. I
yeah,
hard cast a lot of the rune gate attacks from my hand throughout the entire tournament. I thought that felt like a breakthrough in like my thinking about how to play Vincent. That like
yeah,
you are allowed to just play
yeah,
your cards manually.
yeah, yeah. We don't talk about it,
um,
but yeah,
you are allowed to do that, and I think that lets you fight through fatigue quite effectively, where you can set up with one hand, you can banish a card to use later, and then you can manually attack with the rest of your hand. And even if it's low value, you're still presenting damage and setting up.
yeah,
And I think that lets you do two things at once, even if it doesn't look like it's that powerful right now. It lets you keep the pressure up at least a little bit while enacting your game plan of setting up these huge, 2, 3 rune gate attack combo turns. Um,
totally.
and so I think that like Deathly Whale Blue helps with that matchup, but you saw on the games on stream, this deck is capable of making
Yeah,
enormous stacks of rune chants when it needs to.
yeah,
And the weakness is that you don't want to just fall over and crumple up to an aggro deck.
yeah. That I appreciate that explanation. That's kind of like how my brain kind of reasoned about it too. Is like we get the extra life. It makes it harder for Sintra. Is you can full block pup clubs, and then also on the flip side with the whale, I don't think that is for the Syndra matchup. I think it is for those like maybe slower, fatiguey matchups. So, I think your kind of perspective is your like where headspace is kind of where my headspace is at. So I appreciate you kind of verbalizing that very eloquently.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me just quickly check in chat, see if we have any questions. Oh, we do have a couple. Is Invert Existence playable into Syndra, especially since they have Claw of Vincerikai now? I think I just want to make sure I didn't skip anyone.
Also,
Um,
Ramon asked about Succumb and then
yeah,
helping with pitching.
with Succumb and Echinacea, it helps with pitching. Yes. And that's kind of, and I think Ramon, I saw that, and that's kind of part of the reason I was like, there's a number of things that were made me bring up the whole blue Deathly Whale because like hard casting is something we do occasionally, and sometimes with this list, it doesn't go as wide unless you have your cussings out or like Mauve, but you can kind of send a Rune Gate and then hard cast from hand, and that having the blues can help with that. But if you want to add
So,
more to what Ramon was saying, please, and then we can catch up to Lazeus.
well, so like, so Ramon is talking about this. Most recently, he commented the hard casting is a good play style that needs to be reviewed. Like, I completely agree. Um,
Yeah,
I noticed that at several points, especially against Gravy or against Jarl or Dorinthia, all of these opponents that they come to the table, and from the very beginning of the game, there is this looming threat of fatigue.
yeah,
You the burden is on the Vincent player to set up a turn that is capable of killing your opponent. And but you run into a problem where, like, okay, let's say you're a Vincent player who sits down across the table from a Jarl.
hmm
You know that how you're supposed to play this matchup is like, okay, I need to set up. So, like, okay, how do you do that?
yeah,
Well, how you do that is you put several Rune Gate cards into your banish zone, and you pay the life to keep them around for several turns, and you build up some number of rune chants and a go again enabler, and then
yeah,
you send a very large attack at them.
yeah,
But in the meantime, Jarl is killing you.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
if you just if you
yeah,
spend several turns doing nothing but, okay, here's a rune chant, here's an aura pass, Jarl will be like, okay, here's a fused Oaken Old, disrupt your
yeah,
setup, prevent you from attacking me. You take 9 damage. Here's a Command and Conquer Pummel, that
yeah.
arcane cussing, that Deadwood Dirge that you've been protecting in your arsenal. It's
It's
dead.
gone.
Um,
Yeah,
and so I I think that having 7 or 8 blues and then 6 yellows in the deck lets you say, like, okay, I'll just manually attack you with a widespread ruin by pitching a Succumb to Temptation from my hand,
yeah,
and in the meantime, I'll put a Deathly Whale in my banish zone.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I'll use my Tunic counter to send an Eloquent Eulogy from my arsenal, and in the meantime, I'll put a Widespread Ruin into my banish zone, and I'll replace my arsenal with a Shadow Puppetry.
yeah, yeah,
Um, uh, that that is a very profitable trade. Like, the arsenal management, I think a lot of the times, when I first started playing Vincent, like, the wisdom was like, don't arsenal stuff, because it's bad, it'll get stuck there. You
yeah,
don't want your attacks in the arsenal. But sometimes you just, like, okay, I drew a red Deathly Whale and a yellow Deathly Whale, and I have a Phantom Wraith in my arsenal. Like, okay, I'll just play the Phantom Wraith,
yeah,
and I'll put the red Deathly Whale, the more premium rune gate, I'll just put it in my banish zone for later.
yeah.
um I think that's very, very powerful.
+1. And I think you demonstrated that on stream where you pitched, I think it was like a eloquent eulogy and another red to play a Phantom Wraith that you had put into Arsenal to avoid the Codex of Frailty, which I was like, yes, I love that.
Yeah,
So +1
into
to kind of
assassin specifically,
yeah, that,
having an arsenal, having any arsenal, is very important.
yeah, Codex protection. So +1 to what you're saying and +1 to Ramon. Um, yeah, what Ramon was saying. Um, I think we might now go to what Lysias was saying, though, and then we'll come down and try to go in order. But yeah, Lysias, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that pronunciation, is invert existence playable into Cindra, especially since they have Claw of Vincerikai. I will let you go for it. I have a one-word answer, but you can elaborate.
I think my one word answer is the same as yours. No.
Yeah, yeah, I would
um,
say that.
I think it's tempting. I thought about it, but I think that Claude Van Sarakai is kind of like Valiant Dynamos into Vincent.
Yeah,
Just every turn you get the one value if you jump through a small hoop. Um, for warriors, the small hoop that you have to jump through is, attack with weapons twice. For Claw and Sarakai, it's make a chain that's long enough to make Cindra's activation free. But, it's very easy. That's what the deck is designed to do. It's very easy for them to fulfill that condition. And so Claw and Sarakai becomes kind of like Valiant Dynamos, where it's just one
Yeah,
value every turn.
yeah, yeah.
And
Uh,
I think that that makes Syndra players feel like they are safe. That like, oh, I have this really good value engine against Vincent. I'm safe now. They are not safe.
yeah.
um, I will say in the one game that where the deck where my Vincent deck was working as intended against my Syndra opponent, I absolutely dismantled him. It was very, very one-sided. And he was very gracious and professional about it, but I was like, this is tough.
So I have.
And
Oh, go ahead. I have a quick follow-up to that on that specific match
oh, and just
afterwards.
like
Yeah.
he had Quav and Serakai, and I think that you just present so much arcane damage that the value from Claw isn't good enough to save them, and spending 2 cards
Hmm.
or a tunic counter plus a non-block to mess with them is probably not good enough to make up for the value that you lose by running a non-block.
Yeah, totally. Um, and I think this game was not on stream, this specific Cinder game you're talking about.
Unfortunately, not. I wish that was my finals game.
Yeah. For that game, because you kind of, it sounds like you kind of won that, fairly easily. Were you hitting? Because like for the games where I feel like I'm doing that against aggro players, I feel like I'm hitting my temptations, I'm hitting my calls, I'm hitting my annihilations. Like were those cards popping up for you, or was it just pure like I'm sending way more damage at you than you're able to send at me, like high rolling? So I guess I'm asking, is it disruption?
The
Was it disruption that kind of led you through that, or was it pure damage, or maybe even a mix?
uh, a mix. I think that short answer is that the disruption is extremely important.
Yeah,
You need to have your succumb to temptations. You need to have your widespread destructions or annihilations kind of hit. You need to have your calls kind of line up.
yeah,
Um, you need to disrupt them, and at the same time, Syndra, though I think the matchup is favored, obviously, as seen in my finals match, Syndra is a threatening opponent that
yeah,
can kill you, even though she is unfavored. And so that means that you still have to put them on a clock. You still
yeah.
have to kill them in a reasonable amount of time. Um, so you need to like your ideal turn every turn is something that leaves a rune chant behind after for the next turn, one rune gate card and one disruption piece. And sometimes those three pieces that I just said can be the same card.
Hmm.
Like widespread destruction is the rune gate card and it's the disruption piece.
Yep,
Deathly Whale is the rune gate card and it's the rune chant generator.
yep,
Um, but you need to have that sort of mixture for your engine to run into the aggro opponent, and if the mixture is not right, you start to stumble, and if the mixture is not right on enough turns in a row, you lose the game.
yeah, yeah. Very well said. Um, cool. I think we have one more in chat from Pockets. Any thoughts of adding one copy of Chains of Mephistus against Gravy to slow him down?
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. So this, so you and I kind of talked in
Yeah,
the beginning of this video about the gravy matchup. I think before a lot of the people who were
yeah,
watching tuned in, and so if you go and watch the recording of the video, you'll see a more in-depth discussion of gravy. But I think that the 2 copies of Invert Existence, the Aura package containing Arcane Cussing, um, Mauvrian Skies and Oblivion are so good into Gravy that you don't need Chains of Mephitis to slow him down. Um, Chains, I think, if we go back to a meta that like has the books, or like if Marlin gets really good, I have noticed that Marlin is a very difficult matchup for
yeah,
at least for me on this deck. I have really been losing a lot to Marlin on Talishar. Um, I think like if Marlin becomes really big and you expect a lot of Marlins, I think Chains of Mephitis becomes a lot better. But
Yeah,
taking it into gravy, I don't think you need the help, and I don't think it's good enough that it helps you that much.
totally, totally. I love
It's a
that.
cool card
Yeah,
that's worth consideration, but I don't think that it's the right time for it yet.
yeah. Plus one, agree. I think if some of these card draw heroes, specifically Marlin, because I think I also 2 streams ago I think you were there and I was facing a Marlin and I was like, oh shit,
Yeah,
this is rough.
the for anyone who wasn't there watching that day, you got beat up, and that has been my experience against Marlins too.
It's reassuring to hear that because I thought you were a marvelous pilot, and I was like, okay, I'm just really bad. And I think it's just that deck does I think play fairly well into us because it's like we can't prevent it, and it can disrupt us, and they can go fish maybe our key rune gate attack, So
Yeah, so it's like against Marlin, it's a really difficult puzzle to solve because they have a lot of blues, so they can block you out if they
yeah,
want to. Um, Plus they've got these really fat attacks that take a card out of your hand. So like you're always presented with this choice of like, okay, I could take the damage, but then I'm losing a card, or I could block with the card that I want to play, but then I don't have it to play it. And like if you were just playing against like Jarl and he just attacks you like a mangle, you just put your hand in front of it
yeah,
and you block with 3 of your 4 cards, or you block with 4 cards, and against Marlin she prevents you from doing that because she gives overpower to every turn if she has the tempo. um it's really difficult, it's really tough. I think the answer is to use Tunic, Haunting Rendition, and Reduce to Rune Chant. um
yeah,
Try to burst her down with shadow puppetry. You bring shadow puppetry also to force through your on hurts.
yeah,
um but she's tough. She's really hard to beat.
yeah. We'll see. Hopefully, she doesn't end up dominating, or I guess a better word is overpowering the meta. But uh, we'll get some reps and we'll figure it out. I have 2 questions on my end, but let me see. We got corn on a cob. Oh my God, corn on J Cobb. I love this. We'll do the one that just came on chat, and then I have my two, and then we can see if there's more in the chat, and then maybe we can see if we can pilot a game together. But
Sure.
Corn on Jacob says, since Creepers underperformed for you and Oblivion overperformed, have you considered quick dodge flexors in the side? Maybe too cute, but it can be decent insurance for drawing the 0 block blues. Interesting.
Hmm.
I'm gonna form some
I
thoughts
hadn't
myself.
considered it,
Yeah, yeah,
but it's it's possible. I wonder what you would replace. So Jacob is actually a new local to me up
oh,
here in New England. And he and I were talking about his experience on Vincent and some other decks. Uh, and so like I hadn't considered that. It is a possibility. But I wonder like what is the use case for the quick dodge flexors? I guess if Oblivion is overperforming, maybe you just bring it into like the Cindra matchup and you just use it to pitch for quick
yeah.
dodge flexors into Cindra. I don't
I
know. Maybe you take out one Deathly Delight back out and you put in quick dodge flexors. I don't know.
yeah,
Or
no,
I guess the hold on
yeah,
the thinking with that could be like, okay, it allows you to run invert existence
yeah,
because if invert existence is not good, you just use it on the quick dodge flexors. But if it is good, then you use it to banish her daggers.
yeah.
Hmm,
I
interesting.
I think it is actually. I was gonna say, Jacob. I don't think it's too cute. I think actually it is a. And I mean, I feel like, I'm very much of the mind of like, consider everything. Like I ran pumpkins for a while. We have Blessing of Occult and Arcane Cussing in our deck. So like I think it's like always healthy to like consider this. And I think the way you presented it, Jacob, and as well as like you mentioning invert existence as a potential pitch option, Nick. Um, Quick dodge flexors is like, I don't think it's too cute. I think like if there are those super like wide decks and like we want to bring in invert or oblivion, like maybe that's something worth experimenting with.
Especially, every person in this chat who is a Vinset player has heard this, and any person who isn't a Vinset player has maybe not heard this. But into aggressive matchups, your your spellbound creepers are iron rod kings.
Yeah.
They're very they're very expensive, blingy, one block leg pieces.
Yeah.
So maybe quick dodge flex is actually this is a
Yeah.
really good use case for quick dodge. I really like this suggestion, Jacob.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is a really interesting one.
I will say, Jacob, my wallet does not like this suggestion. I just looked on Fabry to see like generally what is it. I was like, okay, we'll test. Part of the reason, I mean, you all know this. I went to Vincent because I was like, cheaper deck. Don't have to buy my CNCs,
Yeah.
but um, cool. And then Pockets was saying, yeah, quick dodge with the blue and tunic does block eight. That is
Oh,
actually a good point.
pockets. It would be so nice to not run Carapace into Cindra because the deck is designed to have access to the tunic
Yeah,
resource,
yeah,
and playing the Carapace into Syndra feels really awkward because you no longer have the tunic resource. So if maybe if you're able to run tunic into Syndra, maybe that is quite good.
yeah. I was thinking about like because I run Tunic into the center matchup, and Dyadic hasn't. I've kind of put it there because it has been a flex spot for me, and I've been just kind of like maybe a little afraid of Cilios or Wizards, but I might potentially punt it. But that
Oh,
is who knows? Who knows? Maybe I need to do my testing. Pockets
I
made me
think
laugh
the
earlier. Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Jacob and I actually were talking about the wizard matchup, and
Mm,
I don't know. I think that AB he and I played. He was on Verdance. He and I played last night at the Armory, and he very soundly beat me.
yeah,
Um, I think, uh, and of course he played very well. I think to my credit, I made a couple of mistakes, and I wasn't very familiar with the matchup, but he was sort of giving me some pointers about it, and I thought
yeah.
that they were really interesting. And he suggested running Carapace into
Ah,
Verdance
okay.
over the Tunic that I ran. I used Tunic, and I
Yeah.
don't think that it was particularly effective.
Mm, okay. And I can see that. Like I think yeah, I brought dyadic. I just don't have as many reps into it. My variation of the list has dyadic because of the extra AB arcane barrier. I just like pitching for arcane barrier 4, which would be what we would bring in. Um, seems just like a little clunky with the density of blues, but yeah, maybe it's just something I need to get more reps in because I don't have strong opinions or like I'm just kind of like Carapace has been mid for me, so maybe flexors. Jacob is just in here psyoping us to be like, play Carapace, but play flexors. I don't have all this money, Jacob. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think you probably have more reps into Wizard than me as of recently, because
Oh, quick dodge against Wrath of Retribution is a very real thing, just like Warriors using it. Such a good point.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Okay, two more questions real quick. Um, What does your current list look like that you're going to be taking to the next event? I think you said in 2 weeks, because I want to kind of have them side by side if you're okay with
Hmm.
sharing that. If you want to keep that sauce kind
Yeah,
of hidden,
absolutely.
I think you said you've changed a couple of things. I know it's it's
No,
pretty much the cultist base with like probably 4 or 5 cards different, but
I think it's two cards different. I think I took out Reaping Blade and Bloodied Oval for two copies of Deathly Delight.
definitely,
It is
yeah.
very similar.
You actually, though, I noticed you don't have, which I like. I'm gonna probably make a change. Also, we have a 4 card difference in our lists. The you have the two extra Deathly Delights, but I have Runeblood Incantation, which was
Yes.
for the fatiguier ones, but I'm actually kind of liking potentially dropping these for 2 more Rune Gates. So I might make some adjustments based on our conversation and what I've seen you play.
Yeah, so Runeblood Incantation actually I felt very big brain, realizing that that should be cut.
Hmm.
I think it's an awesome card. It really helps Vincent sustain and like keep her pressure up from turn to turn.
Yeah.
It feels awesome to use Deadwood Dirge after the
Yes.
Runeblood incantation has
Yeah.
lost its last counter.
Yeah.
um, that's very cool, but I think, as I said during one of my interviews at the tournament,
Yeah.
one of Vincent's strengths is that she is capable of doing these enormous burst turns where she creates 7 rune chants and then comes in with 7 damage and then makes another 3 rune chants and then another
Yeah.
6 damage. Um, so I think Rune Blood Incantation is just not
Doing that.
enough power right now
Yeah.
to be worth it.
Yeah. No, I very much agree. And I think this was kind of like a flex spot of like potentially to change because you're right in this list and the idea behind it is like bursty rune chance. With the ability to stack them and like set up. So rune blood incantation is kind of just like a slower version of that. So I think
Exactly.
I'm gonna probably drop them for something, and I might go with what you're saying on the two Deathly Delights. I'll probably think on it, but I definitely have a lot of food for thought. We just got a few people chiming in on chat, and I will let me know if you message me the list on Discord. But I just want to catch
Oh
up on
yeah.
chat. No rush, no rush.
I'll send you that.
I'm not looking right now, so I want to let you know. Like if I ignore you, I'm just reading real quick. I think the pain is from shadow things, but it's from shelling out all the cash. Or Jacob just, yeah, talking about the quick dog
True.
flexors. Yeah, so Lizaeus wants to scout the deck you're going to be taking. Is Lizaeus a local as well?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Lysias
love
is a
that.
local, and
I,
he was there. We had a good time.
I love that.
He has a lot of very interesting thoughts about the game of Flesh and Blood as a whole, which I will let him share in his own time. But
Yeah,
I really enjoy. He's a really smart player who has a lot of interesting insights into the game.
I love that. I will definitely, I mean, Lizaeus, please share your knowledge or ping me on Discord or hop in our Discord. Would love to hear your thoughts because I love just thinking about this game in like weird, quirky ways. Like I think it was Nathan Crawford is the guy from the Card Guys, very sweet guy.
Mm,
He did a stream recently where he was talking about implicit value, just like instead of being like, oh, this is a blue block three, but there's just like value that isn't necessarily um apparent on the card's text, just like a straight like, oh, this is you know, a four for one block or one card four or whatever. It's like above right, but there's like certain cards of like Funeral Moon has implicit value in the way that it can be used in different situations. Of like, do you have an eloquence? Like, does it trigger the self damage? Like, does it bring out value, an extra one value in your Deathly Well? I think you kind of said a version of this where like Deathly Well is a rune gate attack, but it's also a rune chant generator. So it's kind of doing those two things. Like
hmm
widespread destruction is a attack, but it's also doing disruption. And so like that's obvious, but I like kind of like how I try to build my decks. It's just like some weird uh algorithm that I'm running in my head of just like looking for like that implicit kind of not apparent value. I'm going
Yeah,
to
the Funeral Moon example I think is quite a good one
yeah.
because a lot of people are like, "Oh, Funeral Moon is bad. It is a one card one."
Yeah.
Um, uh, which is bad, but it does so many other things. It lets you trigger your life loss. It lets you get an extra action point off of an eloquence token. It is a
Yeah.
3 block, which
Yeah.
is better than a lot of your other rune chain generators. Um, yeah, yeah. Funeral Moon, I really like. A lot of the times you just end up blocking with it, but it has its moments. It's quite good at if you have like an eloquence token lying around, you can attack with your
Flail.
flail,
Yeah.
and then your opponent will like I don't know, maybe they like let the flail hit sometimes. I think people let flail hit far too
Yeah.
often, but they don't care about the extra rune chant, and then you'll like you'll you'll use the life loss from the flail to make a second rune chant and send a rune gate. Sometimes that happens because they're like, oh, it's just one rune chant, like their turn is over here, and you're like, no, it's not. Surprise, you have 8 more damage.
I love those moments where you're like, yep, you're like, nothing to see here, just four cards in the hand and a flail. Um, but yeah.
You should post the Fabtin Discord link in the chat.
Yeah, I will actually throw that in there. I appreciate that call out. I know it's in. I don't do a. I. It's so weird. I'm so terrible. Like I enjoy this, and I enjoy kind of talking to people and hanging out. But I just like sometimes don't think I do a good job advocating for like, hey, join the Discord, or hey, like, please like the stream and all that stuff. So I appreciate your reminder here. So let's see, invite people, and then copy, and let's do this.
Oh yeah,
Hopefully.
Pockets also loves Funeral Moon. I'm a big fan of Funeral Moon. I A couple months ago, another Vincent YouTuber, I think
Zen
Ashen
State.
Wings,
Oh, Ashen Wings. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
There's
maybe Zen State.
oh, there's
They
so many of
took
us.
Funeral Moon. Yeah, right. There really are.
Yeah,
they
go ahead.
uh they took they took Funeral Moon out of the deck, and I thought, wow, this is really innovative. I love that they're willing to take out this card that I assumed was mandatory. I love that they're like willing to experiment with that. I think that's really good to like do those experiments.
Yep.
My opinion is after having played a couple of versions of the deck without Funeral Moon,
Yeah.
it's a good card.
Yeah. And but it also like literally plus the one to what you said. I think like as a community as a whole, we have to always be like ready to be like, I tried something weird, and like that's how we kind of figure this stuff out. So like props to them, but also
Absolutely.
I need to go back and see because we have I was like I think I'm pretty sure I said this before. We have I think there's just like this love for Vincent because we have the most content creators for this hero, I'm pretty sure. Like off the top of my head, it's like Iron Maiden, Zen State, Ashen, me, Nico. There's like two other people who make YouTube videos.
Vice versa,
Vice
although
versa.
they're on that Fatigue Reinhardt gang
I know
gang
I
right
saw
now.
that. Lovely. And then we have Mara. She does like written guides, and then I think there's someone else who
Yeah.
does written guides. So it's just like I think there's like 10 content creators just for Vincent, which I'm like, yeah,
I mean,
we, we love our there's
I
so
think
much to
very
explore.
similar to I think very similarly to Gravy Bones, Vincent just presents a really intriguing puzzle that she just has such um might need to check the Discord chat
Yeah,
there.
let's see.
But Vincent just has such a an unusual hero ability, very similarly to Gravy Bones, that just like it just begs the type of person who gets into Flesh and Blood, like, come solve me,
Yeah,
come play around with this really unusual set of abilities. Like, it's just always an interesting and dynamic game when you play Vincent. There's just so much flexibility and so many different lines that you can do. It's extremely rewarding to do well, and it I even think it's fun when you like when you do lose a game and you're like, oh wow, that really fell apart. How did that happen?
yeah. I think that's something that Flesh and Blood does well, where you're like you can do your crazy cool engine thing, generally, and then you can still lose, but you'll still feel like I did I did stuff and it felt good. Oh, I'm comparing the two wrong lists. Sorry, I was comparing. There we go. But yeah, plus one to what you're saying. I was what's it called? Shadow Heroes 2 out of 3 are peak deck building tensions 100% great. Lizea, agree. Lizea, sorry, mumbling. I pulled up your old list that you took, or well, the list that you took the last weekend, and then
Yeah,
I've
old list, 6 days old.
so, and then the one that you've updated, I see you've thrown in the quick dodge. I love that. I have
Yeah.
them side by side on the screen. And just I've only kind of I just ran down to the inventory because I think that's probably where you've made your changes. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, you want to walk through your thought process here
Yeah.
on what?
So the the taking out the Reaping Blade and the Bloodied Oval, as we already talked about, they were kind of underperformers on Saturday.
Yeah.
Um, and I put in originally, I replaced those cards one for one with two copies of Deathly Delight.
Yeah.
Um, and you'll also see on the left that Runic Reckoning
Yep.
is still in the list, and Runic Reckoning
Yep.
has been taken out now.
Yeah.
So Jacob suggested using Quickdodge Flexors,
Yeah.
and the the kind of obvious cut was, though I have been playing around with Runic Reckoning, is Runic Reckoning. Um,
Yeah.
that gives us cutting the two copies of Runic Reckoning give us two advantages. It lets us bring in the third copy of Deathly Delight, a card that I already wanted to bring in three of, but
Yeah.
I wasn't able to figure out the space. And it lets us bring in Quick Dodge Flexors, which the more I'm thinking about it, just sounds better and better.
Yep.
I love the suggestion, and it lets you bring in invert existence into Cindra, which could let you
Yep.
snipe their daggers at relatively little cost. So I think that that's an awesome change. Um, the reason I had Runic Reckoning in the list originally was to combat Jarl
Yep.
specifically,
Yep.
because it fights through the frostbite tokens. I noticed on Saturday that I was not able to resolve any runic reckonings for their
Mm.
purpose of breaking the frostbites.
Yeah.
And I have since played 4 games against Jarl in the last like 6 days on Talishar, and I have never gotten the runic reckoning to profitably break the frostbites
Yeah.
there either. So maybe the juice is just not worth the squeeze, and you say, all right, screw it, we just have to play around frostbites like normal instead of
Yeah.
doing this fancy runic reckoning trick.
I have two quick thoughts. Sorry if you were continuing your thought there, but like it I really like the changes you've made, and I think I'll probably do exactly the same. And the only thing I'm a little resilient on is because I have this is an emotional thought coming from me, is like
Mm,
Runic Reckoning won me a couple games at my recent PQ and got me to like the top four. And I was like, it was because I like was able to hard cast it from hand and go over the top
mm-hmm.
for like block heavy decks. That being said, like I think it just makes sense what you're saying because it is a niche pick, and I had it. It was also part of the reason I had it was yes for Jarl. Part of the reason I had it also originally was because of it was a great three block into new,
Yes,
and so
yes,
new being gone, I very much agree, and I think I'll probably literally change the cultist 2.0 list I have. To be like
yeah,
exactly what you have here with the three Deathly Delights. And I might experiment if I'm being weird with like three Deathly Whale Blues, but I don't think so.
yeah. I'd love to hear your results on that.
Yeah,
The runic reckoning, like I also was previously bringing into the Syndra matchup too because it
hmm
blocks three,
hmm
but I
The
think that
quick
that
dodge.
role gets filled
Yeah.
by the quick dodge and the deathly delights.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think that runic reckoning is really flexible. It does a great job of like if you have full tempo, it lets you convert the whole hand into damage. If you
Yep.
need to block with it, you can. It's very easy. It has this frostbite, this favorable frostbite interaction where the rune gates obviously they interact with frostbites unfavorably.
Yeah.
Um, and so runic reckoning is like kind of clever there, but I just haven't gotten it to work, and I
Yeah.
think that trying to like go out of your way to make it work against Jarl ends up losing you value and like makes you warp your play in a negative way. So for now, I would love runic reckoning to come back, and I love the card also. I'm a big fan of it, but I think it's got to go for now.
Yep. I 100% agree. I think you're right. Again, like my kind of pull is a totally emotional pull. So I
Mm,
think literally I think I'll probably adjust like the cultist list to be exactly this and test out the double invert because I only have one right now based off of what I saw. And I pulled it in because of what you said, and I guess what Abigail was saying. And then the quick dodge from Jacob I think is a cool, and it's definitely not too cute. Um, I have one last question for you before we maybe hop
cool.
into a game or two, and we can answer
Sure.
any questions that come in through chat. My last question is kind of, you know. with what we have seen so far, and I'm kind of just having you speculate here of like saying like we have the Guardian Mastery Pack. We just got a little
Hmm.
teaser of the Slam. I forget what it was called, something Slam set. Um,
Super slam.
Super Slam. Um, how do you see kind of Vincent potentially navigating that? Like if maybe Guardian comes in, if things change to maybe a brute heavy or what have you, like what do you kind of foresee
Mhm.
Vincent being able to do in those future metas?
Yeah, I think that the way that you beat some of these very defensive decks that are capable of running a lot of blues, like Victor, like Bravo, like um, honestly Betsy can give Vincent a hard time, though she's pretty weak into most other matchups. I think it's Betsy can kill you if you are playing Vincent into her.
Hmm.
Um, for much the same reason as Marlin is a tough matchup, right? She's got a lot of blues. She has these like disruptive on hits that don't let you block with your entire hand. Um, I think that if more decks like that come into the meta, you have to increase your shadow non-attack
Yeah,
action count, and the prime candidates for that are bringing back Besiege the Demigod,
yeah,
um, and extra copies of Tear Through the Portal.
yeah, yeah. I think you
Besiege
have
the Demigod is
yeah. Go ahead.
stock standard in like almost every Vincent list you will see. I think our version of Cultist runs Envelop in Darkness in Besiege the Demigod's place
Yeah,
just because it has the extra value there and we like using it off Tunic. But
yeah,
I think Besiege the Demigod could come back. It's a good card. It just didn't fit in this list.
yeah,
Um, and Tear Through the Portal is also quite good. I used it to pretty good effect in my quarterfinals match against Colby. I currently
yeah,
only have one copy of it, but it works great where like you can have a Deathly Whale and a Phantom Wraith in your banner zone. You can just play Tear Through the Portal, give the Deathly Whale go again, pay the life,
yeah,
close the chain, get 2 chance, play the Phantom Wraith. It's just really clean.
yeah,
Um, but Tear Through the Portal is absolutely copy number 4 of Shadow Puppetry currently.
yeah, yeah. Um, love it and 100% agree. Like I think. Yeah, we'll see. I hope it doesn't happen because it can be rough for Vincent with a lot of Guardian if the meta becomes Guardian heavy. But yeah. Hey, Ron, good to see you. Well, thank you for bestowing your knowledge on us, and again, amazing job. It was like such a pleasure to watch you on stream, and I will link the Open AGE in the video description later. I actually should have done that. I don't have it quickly on hand, but if you have it actually, yeah. Send it to me in Discord and I can quickly pop into the YouTube chat because I think YouTube chat does only lets me put links. But
Yeah.
um would you be down to I can hop us into a game in Talishar and I know it's getting late for you, but
Yeah.
maybe at least one game I can take your July card list and then
Yeah, let's
we can
I would
run.
love to see how if we can find a Cindra, I would love to see how the quick dodge flexors works into that.
Yeah, let's try and join the competitive CC one. We got an Ira. So Ira, I
Okay.
don't think we need quick dodge. Let me say hello and then let
I
me know what you're
agree.
thinking. Let's say good luck with
Yeah,
that
I think
fun.
Ira so if every deck is a ninja or a guardian, I think
Yeah,
funny enough, Ira is a guardian.
yeah.
Um, so I think we
Oh,
bring in
go ahead.
Nazareth, Shadow Puppetry. Uh, I think Haunting Rendition is an
What do you think?
acceptable inclusion. I think that copy number four of Shadow Puppetry, Tear Through the Portal, is useful, and then your pick of Haunting Rendition or Reduce to Enchant. I think Haunting Rendition is maybe a little bit better, but
Yeah, I like
I
this
think
for the
it's
daggers personally.
yeah. I think you bring in something. It doesn't matter.
How does this look
I think
as our
that's
60?
yeah, good. And then just make sure you're running tunic flail. Yeah, I
This
think
is
that's good.
Cool.
Are we going first or second?
We're going first. I'm different with you.
Okay.
You and I are different on this. I love going first. So here, I'm actually
Oh yeah,
between
we
widespread or deathly
love
whale.
seeing.
This is great. Yeah.
Um,
I don't want to
so
do
do
widespread
you
because we have
do
a Sonata, but go ahead. What do you think?
so I actually think that you do Deathly Whale, so you
Okay.
pitch the widespread annihilation to get a blessing, and then play the
The
funeral
moon.
moon, or even arsenal the funeral moon.
We could do that. So part of the
Eh,
reason I was thinking of putting the annihilation in there is because I was going to Arsenal the Funeral Moon, but let's go with this line. I think this is fine.
yeah, so I think you pitch to play the Sonata, you get probably Blessing of the Cult, and then
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
even just play the funeral moon here to just start your next turn with 6 rune chance. Like, you could draw Oblivion here and just have 6 rune
Yeah.
chance.
I'm going to opt to Arsenal it personally. And my reasoning
Yeah,
is if we don't get a Shadow non attack or a Go Again enabler, then we can, if we do any damage with Deathly Wail, we can use the Funeral Moon to trigger the self damage, was my thinking.
yeah, love that.
So let's see what happens here. So this Blessing of the
So
Cult
here I
is a
think you,
prime block target. But go ahead.
yeah, you use it to block the second Kadachi.
Yeah,
And that's what it's good for.
yeah, 100% agree. Okay, so we've taken some damage. Okay, so perfect. So we'll just block here. How's this look?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I have to
perfect.
be good to like, because usually, I don't, I kind of just like run it. So if I apologize if I'm kind of like hasty to make a play, but I want to kind of have you
No,
mostly put your
all
input.
good.
Oh, interesting.
It does appear that I'm like 5 seconds behind you, so
Oh, shoot. I
yeah.
should share my screen. I could share my screen
Ooh.
from Discord so you'll get the live viewing. So we're getting
Okay.
warmongers right now, which we're gonna
Yeah,
probably
I see that.
um I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm going to just
I think
quickly
choose war, right?
yeah, let's see. Let's choose war, and then I think I'm just gonna send um I might actually use
Yeah.
Funeral Moon now
Use Funeral
s-
Moon now. Yeah.
so that we can put something else in Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then
And I
can
think
you sorry, I was gonna say, can you see the screen okay?
no. Yeah, I can see just fine.
Okay.
I wonder what is better. What do you think is a better Arsenal target between Dirge and Succumb to
Yeah.
Temptation?
I like so here I'm thinking of sending whale. What do you think?
I actually think that
Think
you
what bench?
send Banshee
Banshee?
here
Okay.
because you have the
The
Deadwood
dirge.
Dirge.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I was gonna put the Deadwood Dirge in Arsenal. The only thing that scares me is the disruption that this deck has that we're facing is they have CNC, right? So because they have
I actually think
CNC,
that
put
I
this to
actually think
temptation.
because they have CNC, you put the Temptation in
Yeah,
Arsenal.
yeah. That's kind of
You
yes.
are not
Go ahead.
you're not as sad to lose the Temptation as you are to lose the Dirge.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, generally I would put Dirge in, but I think because of the CNC, I'm kind of like, so they also block some of that, and they have Flex in their deck. That's interesting. Um,
Yeah, one of my locals was asking in the Discord, "Hey, does anyone have blue flex?" I was like, "Blue flex? What are you building?" He's playing Ira. So Ira are now on this
Interesting.
flex plan so that they have a blue that attacks for 4.
Mm,
You know, just a
um,
just slightly less mopey. You know.
yeah. Okay. Also, let me quickly see. Donnie, hey, Ira's so weird. She was most people's introduction to Ninja, but so often I see decks that just block 6 Kadachi. And now is a great time to be like, now is a great time to like the stream, everybody. Thank you, Donnie. I appreciate you. Um, so
Yes, that's
here,
right. Like the stream, everyone. There are 12 too few likes on the stream.
appreciate it, guys. So here, they have 2 floating. They have an arsenal. I feel comfortable blocking with 2 cards. Like we have go again potentially.
hmm
We can't really room gate unless
hmm
we do it from hand. So, do we want to block this 5, or do we want to see what their last card is?
So you could banish the widespread ruin and do yeah, I think you block with the widespread destruction. you could do Go Again on the Deathly Whale and then send the Flail.
Yeah.
Go Again on the Deathly Whale with the Machinations, and then on the Deathly Whale, you use the Succumb to Temptation to get another action point, and then send the Flail to get a
Yeah.
second rune chant, to then send the Widespread
Yeah.
Ruin.
I like that. Let's do that. And let's just hope that there's no CNC here to ruin our
Yeah,
day.
so they might do Command and Conquer here, which is tough, but
Oh, just a Kodachi.
or they just do, yeah.
Okay. They have a mask they could do here. Flex. So that sucks. That's gonna be there. So we'll just be sending Ruin this turn because they're for sure just gonna call out Ruin, right? Unless we want to block,
Hold on.
but
Do you think that they are going to name Deadwood Dirge?
I think I see. I see. If they name Deadwood Dirge, then we banish it,
And
and
we
then
use
we
our,
can play.
and we
And
use
we,
our gloves. Oh yeah, true.
but I like to save gloves here. We banish Deadwood Dirge and send Ruin from hand, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that that's probably right. I think that you put this on them to make a mistake
Yeah,
and name the wrong card. I don't think you care about this.
yeah. I that's kind of where I'm thinking. So let's see what they say. I think they'll say Deathly Well.
Hmm. I did not. I was not able to pay enough attention to realize that they were getting the mask trigger, but I think
Yeah.
that it's okay.
Blessing of
All right, what
what?
do they name?
Wait.
Blessing of the Cult. Great.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Stoli. Thank you, Stoli, so much. Okay, so we'll Deadwood Dirge here, and then I'll Machinations,
Yeah,
and then we're gonna
yeah. I
send the
think this is
whale.
a very good turn here.
And why did they pick Blessing of the Occult? Sure, sure. Wait, I blocked with my. So we've used both Blessing of the Occults. Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You hate to draw Blessing. You
Yeah.
love to search it out with Sonata, and hate to draw it manually.
Let's see if they got a D. Oh, did I? I fucked up. Oh, well, actually,
No, it's good. It's
this is
good.
perfect. And then we'll just do this.
Yeah, you're still poking them for one.
And then I miss. It's hard for me to tell the trigger sometimes. Okay, so what do we care?
All right.
Throw daggers is their only blue. This heals
Yeah, you
them,
just
but
take their blue.
I
You
think I
take their
just.
blue from
I
them.
think yeah. I think we take the blue, and then we're just gonna swing flail here.
Yeah.
If this hits, I mean, doesn't matter. And then we'll hopefully hit off the top.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing here is that the widespread ruin, you've lost life, so you get to
Yeah.
maybe draw a card.
Yo, hey Wit, good to see you. Wit's in chat. Hope you have been well. Wit, I've been hopping into other chats, actually on other streams, and I see you in chat, and it always makes me happy. So good to see you, Wit. Um, they're thinking about it. So they have that block card, which, like, I think whatever happened, their turn is kind of busted this turn. Oh, let me make this also big screen. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. Do you need to maybe
refresh.
view? Do you need to
Oh,
refresh? No. Oh,
no,
there you go. Okay.
okay, so that will happen.
I
Totally
think that
fine.
this is wrong on their part because
Yeah.
now they can't send humble.
Yeah, because they would have had Tunic. So here the rune chant goes through, and I think this was a great pivot turn for us. And we have our Tunic up. We took their whole turn.
Yeah.
We
This was
lost.
a very good
Oh,
turn.
we both lost Majestics, but they lost a dual threat. We got a Sonata Galaxia, which I love here. And so I think what we end up doing is, do we want to? I think we want to use envelope to get us to two.
Hmm.
But I really want to hit this. I kind of want to get go again.
So
Huh.
you could use tunic. Oh no, you need to use tunic for the envelope.
Yeah.
Mm,
Let's see
so
here. What do you think?
you
This
could
is,
use the Sonata with the action point from the Go Again to go get a Malefic incantation, maybe.
so I have
Um,
a I have a suggestion.
yeah, go for it.
I'm thinking because it's like midway through the game, we can pop Quill Hand here. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think that that's acceptable.
So we can do like, and we can maybe put Tear underneath in our arsenal. So I think we Tunic, for
Yeah,
envelope.
and then maybe you get arcane cussing because
Yeah,
you're guaranteed to pop it here.
yeah. So we do this.
Okay, so here's a tip for playing in paper. Do not forget the buff on power and envelop in darkness.
When that happened, I lost it a bit. So you can tell the story for the people. Um,
Oh, in my quarterfinals match, I cast a envelop in darkness, and I did the million things that that card requires you to do. I paid the life. I made the rune chant. I got a second die to indicate that one of the rune chants was unblockable. And then I played the card, and I forgot that to apply the power buff, the +3, and that got a judge call, rightly so, because I'd forgotten part of the card. But just like Envelop of Darkness has a lot of moving parts, especially because you almost always pay for it with Tunic. So it's like you have to physically move your hand to pick up the Tunic counter, play it, say that you do the life, move your hand to tick down the life counter, make a rune chant, tick up the dice with your hand, and so like by the time you get through all of that, like you just sometimes forget.
yeah,
um, and there's a lot going on with that card, so just like remember all of your parts. Oh yeah,
yeah.
and you can
I think we just hunting
I
rendition here, right?
yeah, you can. Definitely.
Um, we will do
And then I think
this. Go ahead. Sorry.
hmm, oh, I the this is one of the things where like Deadwood Dirge is a little bit awkward where like you don't and can't play. Oh wow, Knives Out. Okay.
It's interesting.
Great. Good job blocking with the hunting edition. That worked out perfectly.
Yeah. So we have three here. On my team, I'm thinking Malefic. I don't really want to. It's weird. Yeah, Dirge is dead here a little. I
Yeah.
could
So
I
if
could play
maybe
Terror.
you just use you just use the dirge maybe to make more rune chants because you have a rune chant generator for next turn in the malefic incantation.
My
All right,
thinking
what
of
are they?
this is sort of typo. That's fine. What I'm thinking here is this won't trigger mask. Is I'm actually thinking of just dropping the
Will it not?
no because they only
Oh
hit
no,
with
because this is their
the
second. This is their
yeah.
second. Yeah, yeah.
So what I'm actually thinking here, Nick, is we can do what you suggested, but I'm thinking we just throw away the tear, don't take the damage, and arsenal the dirge because we only have Malefic for next turn, and we won't be able to play three gates.
No, that's a good point. That is
What do you think?
probably correct. Although, do you take the
No,
damage from
I don't
tear
want to
to?
because we lose the dirge.
Oh yes, that's such a good point. All right, send it.
So we just throw this out for nothing, and we'll throw this, and then
Yeah.
we just do this, and this will, I think, give us their whole hand. And then, because next turn we will only have two rune chance, and if we somehow brick the Deadwood Dirge, will get us out of there.
So now we've kind of entered into a phase where like we're sending the stuff and we kind of need to set up a couple of
Yeah,
cards in our banish zone.
yeah,
And I think that widespread annihilation lets us do exactly that.
yeah,
It buys us the time to put a rune chant generator into the arsenal, get a couple of rune gates in there, build up our next tunic counter to maybe do like a creepers play and close out the
yeah,
game. Um, so I think for a couple of turns we just try to like sure.
yeah. So, do we want to get rid of this now, or we could just put
uh
this? I think we could put this in
yeah.
banish. We could put this in banish, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you get these hands. It's pretty tough. I think because you have the funeral moon here, you can probably send flail on your next turn. But
I
maybe
don't
you
want to.
discard the I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to do it because I don't want to IP ourselves anyway. So we'll do this. And then I think we do flail maybe. Well, maybe we just set up. I think maybe we dirge and then put a puppetry in. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I puppetry is a great arsenal target.
I think we do this and then just use our action point like
Uh,
so. Oh, what do you, sorry.
and
Did you want
not
to,
flail at all.
I don't want to flail. I kind of want to stack.
That's fine. That's fine.
Because I don't know. Oh.
Yeah, I forgot how to do it. All right, hell yeah.
This is so good. This is so good. This is okay. Um, this is so
This is
good.
also, you can let the Kodachi hit you here, and this is also potentially a turn where you maybe
I,
protect your arsenal with Face Purgatory.
yeah, but we'd have to get another rune gate, right? So let's see what happens. This is I think well this is very interesting. This is the hand you want to see because we have two go again options for so we can do widespread into oblivion. But let's see.
Absolutely, you have a lot of options here, just tons of
Yeah.
flexibility.
Oh, this is such a cool card revealed. Humble. Oh, they lose. So that sucks. So I think this is a
So
face purgatory.
this is what I was saying, where you use the Face Purgatory to protect your.
Yeah. So I think we get what do we want to get rid of the funeral moon or the machinations?
So you need. I would get rid of the machinations here, and then use the Funeral Moon to make the 6 rune chant at the end of their turn, and then before your turn you summon Nazareth, so you don't have to banish anything.
Well, we're gonna draw from purgatory, right? So
Oh yeah, sure. Yes.
I actually think
Oh,
instead here,
great.
I think we can just keep the funeral moon to end on it for next turn because we're
Yes,
gonna
but
banish the. Oh, go ahead.
I consistently forget the full effect, like how Face Purgatory works. I forget that like you do draw the card. I forget to like account for that in my calculation of the turn. And I also forget sometimes that it needs to be a non-attack and an attack
Yeah.
together. Um, this turn is disgusting.
So I don't think we need to take the damage here per se. We could because
I don't. I agree.
and then we'll do this. Do Oblivion now. Well, might as well. And then we'll just send the Phantom Banshee for,
Yeah,
everything. And then we'll send Nazareth. And then, yeah, they're going to take all this damage probably. They're going to try to just go for Nazareth. If we somehow hit like a eulogy here,
you could do an
we haven't,
Eloquence play with
yeah,
the Funeral Moon.
yeah, we haven't seen any eulogies. So, like,
Yeah,
this could be like,
if you
go ahead. Sorry, I keep talking
if you
over you.
hit like a no, I go for it. Like I'm also just thinking out loud. Both of us are sitting here playing the same game. We're like firing on all cylinders. This is what you want to see in Tyro. Like these double rune gate turns where you
Uh,
okay, fine, keep that on top.
Pockets is saying something actually about how we could have maybe taken the humble, um, which I think we could
Oh
book
yeah.
here. I'm trying to think if we want to book for an extra action point. I don't think we need to book
No.
Ramon. Love how
But
Vin plays with these lines. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
but also pockets about not blocking the humble. Then we don't have 7 health. We're at 10 instead, which feels pretty bad. Like I love having 10 extra points of life here.
Yeah.
So like I do think that there is merit to considering not blocking the humble. Um, but I think that this ends up being better. And
So
this
we're
is
gonna.
another great turn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're just gonna hit us. So we can just send the Phantom Wraith from hand because they're gonna clear. We'll be able to send two 6 attacks here. Yeah, they target Nazareth.
Great.
And
Yeah, so
so
if you
Shadow Puppetry, Phantom Wraith, and then Phantom Wraith from hand. What do you think?
yeah, yeah, I think that's exactly what you do.
Or do we want to tunic? We should machinations for the to overpower, or do we want the +1? Because like we can tunic to play the Wraith from hand too. Oh, I
Yeah,
fucked up. I
so
I
maybe
also
check
I missed the mass
maybe
trigger.
check their sure, yeah, me too. I also have just been completely forgetting about
Yeah.
mass.
But what were you saying?
How many D-Reacts have they seen? They've seen 2 sinks, 1 shelter, 1 flick flack, 2 flick flacks. So I
Uh,
think that there's a good chance that they don't have a reaction. I don't know. I think the overpower into Ira with so many reactions is not always very good.
yeah, I don't know. Now I'm leaning towards like, what are we? We do have tunic up, So like maybe it's worth keeping this and not tunicking for a second attack and then pitching away overpower. But because
Yeah,
we
so I think that Shadow Puppetry gives you another point of damage, plus it saves the Tunic counter to do creepers to close out the game,
yeah,
maybe next turn or the next turn. I think you save the Tunic
yeah.
counter.
I don't think we need to take self damage to push anything right now. So we'll do
No,
that
agreed.
and we'll just send this. Um we are oh the one thing I forgot is we're gonna lose the rune chant from the Malefic because of our second attack, but so they have a full red
Yeah,
hand. There's a fate.
yep, and they had a D-React in the arsenal, so it was good that we didn't send the.
Holy schmucks. Yeah, they got two. Okay.
Yeah, so I think you just send, you know?
Yeah. So we're in a weird
And
position
it's
with,
on them to figure out how to survive, right?
yeah. Um, this could be perfect. Um, no, we're gonna be down one. Shoot.
Hmm.
What do we got going on here?
Is there any
Crouch.
way
Oh,
to
E strike.
play?
Oh, this from hand.
Is there any way to play the Deathly Whale manually?
Tunic, envelope, Sonata, banish the Malefic or banish the Sonata. Um,
Mm,
is there a way where we so zero attack, sensor? I don't like this. And I don't want to take the damage. So I'm actually kind of thinking to block here and just
I
maybe what
agree.
like maybe we block with this maybe we tunic out we creepers Galaxia or something and block with creepers. I'm trying to think like it's a little cheeky. No, we don't have the rune chance, but I kind of like I want to
Oh
cover this up.
yeah, no, this is tough.
I
This is a
think
really
we
tough one.
what do we have? So we have cussing. I think what we do is actually ugh, this is ugly. I think we just play Malefic and then banish something else, take one. Because we have
Yeah,
nothing to
I
get off
think that
Galaxia.
that is probably correct.
If they call Malefic here, it's gonna be the snipe of the century.
Yeah, well, if they know they're playing against the famous streamer captain, then they will banish their stream snipe too.
No, I'm scared now. They're listening to your
Uh,
words. They're processing. They're looking. The anxiety. If I see Malefic incantation, they're probably like, "We haven't seen a eulogy. What's going on? Did you cut eulogy from this list, friend?" I'm kidding.
yeah, so pockets makes a good
Block three and play the card they don't
suggestion
call.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like they'll name a card here, and then we just banish the card they name and play the other
cool.
one. What did they name?
So they did ruin.
Widespread
So
ruin. Okay.
boom, and that's
Yeah.
it. There. Hello, everyone. Hi, everybody. How you all doing?
Okay. So this is good.
I think what take the one here, and then we can block with everything else and just keep ruin.
Yeah. Agreed.
The thing that's getting scary is we're at 19 or 20 cards. Yeah, we're at 19 cards.
They're at 4 life.
Yeah. So we have a Malefic, which makes me feel very safe. Um, we should get their whole hand probably with the widespread ruin, or at least two or three cards. Um,
Yeah.
they're gonna
So
call Pummel. Oh, hey, all three of the demon wanted to say hello. Yeah, Ron. Okay, cool. So, maybe we just block like so, and then this has
yeah.
go again, and then see what their next attack is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep the iron rods for now. There's no shot. There's a
Okay. So they
fuck.
draw a card.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Sure. What do they want to do?
Let's say I wanted to do it. I think they probably like mashed something too quickly.
So one consideration here is that we could have. We may need to block with armor here, both the
Yeah.
tunic and the eulogy to prevent
A draw.
mask trigger
Or
because
yeah.
this has go again if it hits and which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, we have to do this. And even if we had used armor last round, last attack, which maybe we should have, they had the throw dagger, which would have kept the chain alive, right? So
Yeah,
we'll send this. We're still in it. You're getting low,
we
so
are.
Massimo's gonna be blocking soon too. He's gonna undo the flick. Left, not the right. Oh, I see pockets. Very insightful. Okay, so they're having a hard time blocking our arcane barrier. One more card. So this is at this point, we're gonna draw the invert existence that I snuck into the main board. We got all their dual threats.
Oh, did you put it in? Did you put it in the
No,
main board?
I kind of
Oh,
wish I did. Are they gonna go down to
yeah. I
what?
mean,
Okay,
some. Yeah, I mean, if we can survive. Oh, they're at two. Okay.
okay. How are we looking? Let's see. So eulogy. Maybe there's a book play here. Let's see.
Sure, there could be, but
Oof. So what do we want to do? Block five with the cussing and whale, or what do you think?
so you could just block.
Oh,
They have the other dagger.
no, no, they don't. They have one. Oh, wait. No, they didn't. They didn't pay for it back.
Oh,
What
is
we
that? Ah, they didn't
so we
return it.
could
Okay,
block
so you
with
can.
go ahead. Sorry. I think you're gonna say what I'm gonna say. Go for
You were saying that you were saying the same thing I'm gonna say.
it.
Block with deadly whale, take two damage, call.
Yeah.
Very strong defensive play.
The one thing is to this is Cole
Mm-hmm.
could potentially finish the game for it. No, let's just they're not gonna take any damage. So here we'll Cole now, and then it doesn't matter. Let's just put the cussing in.
Both of them end up getting banished. Yeah, that
Ooh,
was
that would have been. I'm
awesome.
glad. Yeah, the humble. That would have been bad. And then they can't do anything.
So I think that you do send the eloquent eulogy here
Hmm.
because you need to take cards from them, and you still have two turns on the malefic.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
we're in a tight spot.
Yeah, we have machinations, right? We have
I think we pitched
yeah,
one at
we
the
pitched
beginning
it.
of the game,
Yeah. So we should hit them like
so we
this
do.
next
Yeah, we
turn.
do.
So we need
That's a good point.
a two, like we need like a ruin and a machinations. Dude, don't tell me they have the 1D react. Oh, they have healing.
Oh my god! And they gain the life. Oh, okay.
Or one card. Um, so
So
oh
do you banish the succumb here and
no,
manually cast the envelop in darkness?
no, because
Oh wait, hold on.
no, I think we put eulogy
Yeah. No,
in.
you
Go ahead.
eulogy and I don't know. You always banish the eulogy,
Yeah,
and then you ensure the succumb to temptation by paying a life, maybe.
I'm thinking I kind of want to save this envelope almost, but like,
What do you use
yeah, I don't
what do
know.
you use the the other two cards in your hand for then?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we
Hold on,
have to.
let's turn to chat.
Yeah,
Ramon
this
says
is
play envelope.
Ramon says, okay, Ramon actually is usually right. Um, because like I kind of want to keep the envelope for next turn so we can have a 3/8, then succumb, and then flail.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
it makes the eloquent eulogy a break point, and we can play the flail. Ramon makes
yeah.
a good point that this is very difficult to block.
I was gonna put the widespread as pitch, right? That's obviously because we're using the
Yeah.
temptation. Just
Yes.
and I'm taking the
Yes.
self-damage to ensure we get the
Exactly.
temptation. Cool.
Yeah.
Ramon, thank you. And then we have okay, so they had the blue. Cool. So they don't get full value from it. Oh no, they will because of our flail hit.
Well, we don't have to play play,
Yeah,
but if
we
they
don't
give
have
us enough
to.
stuff,
Only if
if
they
they give
like
us all
miss
three,
block.
if they give us all three cards here, then
Uh, they
oh
only
yeah,
block
we
two.
play.
So, well, they're gonna D-react first, right? And then they
Okay,
take one, and now we do it, and then we win,
yeah.
unless they have a shelter or another D-react. Okay, there it is, and now
Oh,
we won. That is called the Ramon special, everybody. That's the Ramon
that
special.
was sick. That was excellent.
Yeah. GG.
Nice.
GG.
Yeah, so
Good game.
you know, I think that both of us, it's really late for me. It's getting late for you. We had this long discussion, and both of us are in kind of casual mode right now. But
Yeah,
that was a really good example of like how you overcome these
yeah.
blue heavy decks where you play your shadow non-attacks, you make the damage unpreventable, you carry the rune chance from turn to turn to turn, you get two Sonata Galaxias resolved to get two of your auras, um, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, no, very well played. And I feel like, yeah, apologies. I kind of, I'm a slightly controlling person. So you were like trying to say stuff and I kept talking over you. And I was like, well, I'm gonna do this. And you're
No, we
like, oh,
were
okay.
we were saying basically the same thing on most turns. Although you
Yeah.
did provide some pretty good insight into like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that line. That is
Year
one of
three,
the
yeah.
big things.
Go ahead. I was gonna say
One of
year
the
three.
big things that I've.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go, you go.
No, I was just trying to say, I'm so sorry. This is where I'm terrible at this. I was gonna say, you're 3 hours ahead of me, so you should be kind to yourself of like, I think you're just tired
Yeah,
and
I gotta get offline here very shortly, but I think that one final note about how to pilot Finset. I think that one of the biggest challenges to playing this deck is like getting a sense for how to press the gas pedal enough
Mhm.
that you're taking the game towards its end state without pressing it so hard that you expend all your resources. And so like just because you can play a card legally, like just because you can play a call or can play a funeral moon, doesn't mean that it's right. Um, and so I think that you pointed out like we don't need to play the funeral moon here yet. We can play it next turn to finish with a rune chain. I think that that's exactly the kind of insight that you need to have success on Vincent. So good game, dude. Thank you so much for having me on the channel. Is a real pleasure and honor. Lots of fun, and can't wait to keep playing more Vincent.
Dude, right back at you, Nick. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all your insights, your perspective. Like, definitely had like a lot of thoughts, and I think I'm gonna like, if it's okay with you, steal the changes you've made to the inventory, the sideboard on this list, because I think I like kind of where your head is at on the runic reckoning and stuff. And just thanks for thanks for just being like amazing. Like honestly, like great
Yeah,
perspective, great
likewise.
gameplay, and I can't wait to just like jam some games with you on stream, off stream, and yeah,
Yeah, cool, awesome. Have a good night. See you later, dude.
yeah. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you later, friend.
Bye.
Bye. All right, all. He's gone. Let's party. I'm kidding. So we're gonna play. I think what we'll do is it is getting late, but let's do a puzzle. I did create a puzzle, and I've been a little bit bad on the puzzle, but to recap. Had a lovely interview with Nick, who got second place at the AGE Open. I was watching the stream. I think they did a marvelous job piloting. It's like first time on stream too, at like a fairly competitive event, and like nerves are gonna get to you. There's so many triggers to handle, and I thought overall he did an amazing job. It's very easy, I think, for us as viewers to kind of judge people playing when they're in the hot seat. And I had a great conversation with him to understand like hey, based on what you saw, I think he's done more high level events recently than I have. I wanted to see like hey, what's your sense of the field, like I think when we play on Talishar you only get so much information, and I like some of the stuff like Jacob suggested quick dodge flexors. Abigail from the Iron Maiden kind of had told this to, or maybe mentioned this, and Nick picked it up of maybe two inverts for the gravy list. So, and then Deathy Delight. is something that makes an appearance in the Cindra matchup because I think we lean back on this aura package. So I think it's like really cool. Like we have the cultist list, and like through the help of all of you, it's been evolving. And I think it's like, selfishly and biased because I'm biased, like I think it's one of the strongest Vincent lists. Granted, I think Vincent is like all of the lists right now on Vincent are actually extremely strong. She's just very difficult to pilot. So that's a recap. I will post Nick's updated version of Cultist with the slightly, I think he's got like 5 cards different now. And I'm going to adopt these into the Patreon version. And I'll try to update some of it, but I'll link his in the description after the video. But let's do a quick puzzle. Let's do a puzzle before we all fall asleep. Um, this is the setup. We haven't done one for a couple weeks. Apologies, I've just been kind of scrambling. But this is the setup we have where we have an envelope in our arsenal. We have a Mob Sky, Sonata, Widespread Ruin, Widespread Annihilation, and our top of deck is another Widespread Annihilation. So also yeah, so and we have a tunic up. I didn't actually represent that here, but let's just assume we have tunic up, and I will open up the note. Oh, how cleverly positioned. Hey chat, you're awesome. It's probably a little small, but I hope you all know that's what I'm saying. And I'm actually gonna copy paste this all for you all. Because thank you all for just hanging out. Thank you all for commenting, liking, and just supporting Nick and me. It means a lot. All right, enough mushy stuff. Let's beat up on this practice dummy. So looking at this, I think we do widespread ruin. Um, how do we want to do this? Is there an easy way to do things here? I think we can keep it simple. I think this might be an easy one. Um, I think it's going to be as simple as using envelop, taking the damage, then funeral moon. Yeah, I think this is actually a really shit puzzle. I'm sorry. I thought I had something a little bit more clever here, but I think there was no shortage of lines here, but this is super easy line. So all we're gonna do is banish ruin. I'll make this big size later. I don't even think we need our tunic resource, um, where we will use envelope and take damage, pitching the annihilation. That's going to put us at 3 rune chance, and we'll have 2 floating resources. So then we'll use Mauve Sky, and see, before that, we'll use Sonata, if I can type. Sonata and get cussing. I should have specified what we could get with Galaxia, but we'll get cussing because I'm just going off the cultist list. And so we'll have 1 floating. And what we could do here is, I guess we could maximize damage with flail here. So what we'll do is we will creepers to maximize with flail damage. So we will send Ruin, which will be a total of 3 plus 9. So 3 rune chance plus 9 damage. So that's going to be 12 total damage. We will use the 1 floating to creepers in mauve, um, and then close chain to banish the annihilation from top. Break quill hand, quick hand. I got quick dodge on the mind. Quick quill hand. Close range advantage to the anti. Oh my gosh, annihilation. Let's just call it widespread annihilation. From top, break quill hand. So now we will have 5 rune chance because we got 3 from cussing plus 2 from the Quill Hand from Vexing. Then we're just going to send an easy 5 plus 6. So that's going to be 11. So it's going to be total damage of 11 plus 12 is going to be what, 23? So total damage is 23 damage. With the go again, we swing flail and send 4 more. So 1 plus the 3 rune chance. So that's going to be total damage of 27 damage. Let me make this um big. Yeah, sorry, that was a little bit of a simple one. I forgot how powerful Sonata can be, and there was not too many hoops there, but yeah, so we're just gonna banish the ruin, use envelope. We have plenty of pitch with this widespread. We have another widespread on top to do. I don't think there was a crazy line where we could set widespread, all 3 widespreads. Oh, I am blind. I didn't realize we had a Vant and Banshee in here. Does that change anything? I guess instead of sending Flail here, we just send 7. So add 6 here. Oops. Instead of Flail, we swing Banshee. Um, oops. I forgot we had something in Banish. I'm clearly tired, folks. Um, but yeah. Okay. I think we'll keep it at that. Okay, friends. Yeah, I think we'll probably wind down. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to update the Patreon version of the list with what Nick is currently going to be doing in July. And it looks like the main changes are we're going to experiment with Quick Dodge. We're at 2 inverts, 1 tear. We've gotten rid of Runic Reckoning, and we're adding in the Deathly Delight. So I think these are all positive changes to the Cultist list. And yeah, um, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you all coming by. Hopefully, there was some informative information there from Nick and myself. And just thanks for hopping into the Iron Maiden. Have a great night, evening, morning, wherever you're at. And until next time.